Hello, what an honor it is to read your toes today. In toe reading, the left foot has to do with your internal self. So all the things that are going on in your head, your self-talk, the way that you take action for yourself, the way that you communicate with yourself and your emotional self. The right foot is the way that you respond in the outside world, how other people experience you, your perceptions, and the way that you act and speak and express in the outer world. So each of the toes has an energy. So our big toes here, this is your spirit path on your left foot, and this is your life path on your right foot. Second toes are both communication, internal communication, external communication. Third toes are action. Fourth toes are relationships. And fifth toes are trust and prosperity. And when I look at your toes, one of the very first things that they are communicating to me, because what I'm doing is I'm speaking the language of the toes. I understand the messages that the toes are sharing, and our toes are our first messengers. And so things happen first in the toes before they happen anywhere else in the body. And the first thing that I noticed was this toe, this spirit path toe, is standing here all on its own. If you look at it, there is an equal space between this toe and the rest of the toes, and even just how you were standing. So this toe is all on its own. And so the questions that I would reflect on with you are, how do you stand alone spiritually? I know a little bit about you, and I know that you've had some spiritual revolution and evolution in your life. And I'm going to click over here to your chart here. And the chart really, really fascinating because your sun is in the sign of Sagittarius. And it's Sagittarius is the sign of spiritual belief, philosophy, etc. And your sun is right here. And your Chiron is right here, right next to it. That's what we call a conjunction. They're right next to each other. You can see that you have 24 and 26. And so Chiron is our wound. Chiron is the wound that we came into this lifetime with, that we are called to either heal, but most importantly, to heal others. We may never heal it ourselves, but we can assist in healing others who have this wound. And so the questions around this wound are, is it safe to believe? What do I believe? Those are some of the questions that you would benefit from considering and looking back over the course of your life, and when you did and did not feel like it was safe to believe, like it was safe to learn, and then express. Sagittarius is a very expressive sign. Express what you have learned. Is it safe to be smart? So the fact that this spirit path toe and your sun here in Sagittarius, which is also here in the 12th house, the house of transcendence. So again, some journaling questions that I would invite you, or just thinking about, is, how have you transcended some of the unhealthy spiritual patterns of the past that has given you the power to stand independently? And here's a very important question. How do you feel about that? You are also highly intuitive. This space here indicates very high intuition. So when your gut tells you something, follow it. So this can show up as, that doesn't make sense, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or this person doesn't feel right to me. I'm not going to gaslight myself. And it's not the right person for me. So you are such a thinker. And we're going to talk about that as we move into some of these other toes. You're such a thinker. Don't overthink your intuition. You have this beautiful ability to blend the two of them, the thinking and the intuition. And you don't want to override the intuition through overthinking. So let's just talk about how this overthinking can show up. So this South Node is here in the sign of Virgo. The shadow side of Virgo is overthinking. And so in this sign of potentially just overthinking as a shadow side, this is something that you came to this lifetime with, okay? What we have here in the South Node, I think of it like a little purse, a purse that has a lot of stuff in it from our experience before we came to this planet or to this lifetime. And in that purse, there's some things that are very useful, very helpful to us. But you know how in the bottom of purses, how you get just, you collect wrappers or dust or little bits of things. You're super neat and clean. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I know it's happened to me. Or in the bottom of a backpack, it just gets stuff. That's like this South Node. And sometimes we don't even know what's in the bottom of that. But we do know that what it is not serving us because it's just crumbs and wrappers and garbage. That's the overthinking part. And so I would just invite you to think, but don't get on the hamster wheel of overthinking because that will not serve you. And trust your intuition. Your intuition is so on. So I know you use a pendulum. That's very good, especially if you just get centered, because then, especially if you can ask the question and clear your mind, then that can help you speak from that intuitive place, from your spirit self, your essence self, as opposed to overthinking. Oh, when I yawn or have some other kind of physical release of some kind, that's always an indicator to me and to my clients that whatever I said was a big energy release and can offer you a huge release. So really consider that overthinking piece. And there it is in my throat, wanting to be released. So when you notice that you're on that hamster wheel, because that hamster wheel gets you nowhere, stop wherever you are, however long you've been on it, get off, take a few deep breaths. And as you continue to practice that, it will get better. And the idea is that hopefully it won't, that it'll get easier. But remember, even if you went 50 miles down that road, you can always get off of it and come back. Additionally, you've got a square here where we're going to your Chiron. So this really it's part of the wounding. It's part of the wounding. And so that's a beautiful thing to be aware of, is that overthinking, over philosophizing is part of the wound and that it can be healed. That was a beautiful message that I just got from your guides for you. I invite you to just receive that, take that in. Okay. Some of the things that I also like about this Spirit Path Toe is then it's looking out. It's fairly straightforward. You've got a nice nail here. Now, you do have a couple of things going on with this toe where you've got some peeling things, etc. Just a second. I'm just going to check that other picture that you sent to me. I looked at it before the reading, but it's coming to me now. And so, okay. Yes. Okay. All right. So those other pictures, that you sent to me, there is some things in here that are eating on you. They're literally eating you. And it has to do with overthinking and busyness, staying moving as self-medication. We all medicate in some way, and one of the ways that you medicate is to just keep moving, and that hamster wheel can feel like you're moving, and you are, but it's not getting you where you actually want to go. So a meditative practice of stillness would be very, very good for you. Just grounding, sitting, being one with the earth, and clearing your mind. Don't get too stuck on that. A lot of times people think that meditation is all about clearing their mind, and it's really hard to do. So don't get stuck on that. When a thought comes into your mind, there it goes again. You hear it? This is good information. We've really hit on something here. When something comes into your mind, just stick it on the shelf of your mind. You can always access it later. And just strive for an empty mind for just a few minutes. And, maybe start out with a 2-minute goal. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Ooh, this is a big deal. This energetic, when I do these readings, I am energetically connected to you. And this is a really big deal. I've even got a little bit of tears coming out of my eyes. I am releasing and experiencing an energetic connection with you that is letting me know that we've hit on something big here, and that part of your life purpose, especially here at this point in your life, is to stop overthinking. Just breathe that in. See what your gut is telling you. What's happening in your gut as you listen to these words, stop overthinking. Get off the hamster wheel. Enjoy some stillness. Pay attention to how that feels to you. All right, we're going to move on to your right toe, your right big toe here. So this toe is your life path toe, and you are on the right path. It's nice and straight, and that you do have a bluish tinge up here. So when there is a bluish tinge, it's a lack of energy physically, like in blood flow, as well as energetically. So how do you feel the direction in your life is? Do you have direction? What's getting you out of bed in the morning? What do you find the most joy in? And then I would also recommend, and this could be very healing, when you're doing that practice of the empty mind, if your mind needs to chew on something, just grab those toes and massage them gently. Or when you're doing the massage, have your feet be in a container with nice, comfortable, warm water, some Epsom salts, and some lavender essential oil. And just allow the energy to flow. I'm getting the feeling that there is something that is of importance for you to do in your life in the next year. There's something of importance, and sometimes those things of importance, they are important, but they don't look important. We sometimes underestimate or undervalue our natural zone of genius. So when I say natural zone of genius, the space where you are in flow, the space where you feel the highest level of fulfillment and joy, how are you being when that is what's happening? You are on the right path. As you listen to your intuition, this is going to flow to you. And this toe needs some additional energy, which can be done through that nice gentle rubbing, as well as having it be in water. And after you're finished with that, putting them on the ground, on the earth, and if you can, outside on the earth. That'll be really, really good for you. Okay, let's talk about these second toes. We see that there's some differences in these second toes. These are the expression and communication toes. There's some similarities in that they are both looking to the future, okay? When your toes are pointing towards the pinky, they're looking to the past. I think I said that wrong. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. So looking towards the pinky. Why am I getting this confusion? For you, it's reversed. I've only seen that a couple of times. For you, it's reversed. Fascinating. Okay. All right. You are looking to the future in these second toes. So do you think that something is going to happen in the future that's going to allow yourself to express yourself and communicate in a different way? Is there things from the past that you're still digesting? Sometimes trauma from the past, energetically, it can look like just undigested food. It's not doing you any good. In fact, it's harming you. And so the idea of digesting it, of going through the process of working through the trauma, because it's definitely being influenced by the past. And so what do you feel? Is this overthinking? Is this not being present? I feel almost a lightheadedness, like a lack of focus or an unsurety. So I would invite you, while standing on the earth, to explore the question, meditate on the question, what am I here to express and communicate? This has to do with what we just talked about with this first toe here. This communication toe, expression toe. The planet that has to do with this is Mercury. You've got your Mercury here in Capricorn. So Mercury and Capricorn, well, Capricorn is about achievement. Capricorn is about getting to the top of that mountain. Capricorn energy is very much moving forward energy, which we can really see here with your action toes, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Does the way that you express yourself have anything to do with your mother or with your mothering energy? We all have that mothering energy. It doesn't matter what our gender is or what we identify. We all have that nurturing mother energy. That's the yin energy. And this little symbol here, this is Ceres. She is the goddess of the earth. She's nurturing. And you'll get more information on that when I do your goddess reading. But when Ceres is right here next to Mercury, there's a lot of information here, a lot of value in your communication that's around a mother type energy. Your communication, you're such a fun, optimistic person. Do you ever feel like your communication is, do you fear it being too blunt or too, do you fear it being too blunt or too serious? Or does it come across that way even when you don't mean for it to be that way? And what do you think is going to change in the future? These are some interesting questions to explore. And again, You don't have to journal about every single one of these, but take the questions that resonate using that beautiful gift of intuition that you have and consider that question. And these would be good questions to contemplate in meditation also. And what I would recommend for that is writing out the question and just setting it out and asking that in the quiet space of your mind that you will find the answer. The tarot card that's coming up for you right now is the Hermit card. The Hermit is about going inward and upward. Okay, a lot of times we want to come upward and down through us. The Hermit is about coming inward, checking with your own inner authority, and then going upward. Please remember that you are your own authority. The exercise, the manual manipulation that we talked about, with massaging these toes would also particularly help this toe. There is some blocked energy in here. How observant are you about what you say in your mind? Do you ever speak to yourself in a way that you would never speak to anyone else? What's your inner dialogue like? There is some blocked energy here, and so releasing that energy would be very beneficial. And then the tops of these toes here, these second toes, just gently twisting them to straight and inviting the energy to move to that straight pattern. Remember, it is a pattern, just like that hamster wheel, and we're asking the energy to change patterns, and you will start to notice a difference in your toes. And that is indicating to you that the energy is starting to shift. There is a message that you are meant to share with people. What is that message? Clear your mind for a moment. Take a couple of breaths. And take note of the first thing that comes into your mind when I say, what is the message you are meant to share with the world? Don't overthink it. Just write down the first thing that comes to your mind. An image, a color, a set of words, an idea. Just write that down. I'll give you a moment. And you can always pause this video and come back to it later. Okay. Yeah. We've hit on some really big things. I've got that tear coming out of my eye here. Imagining you sharing a beautiful message with lots of people. And that might feel really uncomfortable. And just remember that there is a way, because this is part of your life path. And don't forget the ripple effect. You sharing it with a small number of people can ripple out. So I encourage you to, this is unusual language for me to use, but don't be afraid of not knowing. Usually I would say embrace not knowing, but for me and you right now, it was saying, don't be afraid of not knowing. Don't be afraid of asking the question. Don't be afraid of, and I put this in quotes, quote unquote, looking foolish. Because you're a seeker. Seekers must ask questions. You are a seeker. Most definitely a seeker. I can see this in a couple of places in your chart. One is all the Sagittarius energy that you have here. Two is you have Saturn and Neptune here in the 9th house. The 9th house is about seeking. It's about exploring. It's about philosophy. And then you have Jupiter here at, look at this, I know you'll love this, 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Jupiter, of Pisces, Jupiter and Pisces. And Jupiter loves to be in Pisces. It's very expansive. And you're just a very, very expansive thinker. And you want to know. So make sure you ask those questions. Use this communication to ask those questions. Your action toes, okay? For context, let's just look at the differences between the action toes. This action toe on your right foot, the way that you are in the world, is straight, and little tiny bit of blocked energy, but nothing out of the ordinary that concerns me. Straight. This little action toe, there is some blocked energy in here, and it kind of takes the meandering path. And so the question to contemplate here is, do you show up more for others than for yourself? If you make a commitment to others, are you more apt to keep that than a commitment to yourself? So whatever the answer is there, and this could also be just the way that you prefer to take action for yourself. Do you want to go straight from point A to point B, or do you like to take the scenic route? All right, your Mars over here in Aquarius lets us know that you like to take unique action. The way that you go about things is going to be very unique, very different, and dare I say, even revolutionary in the way that you take action. And love that about yourself. Have you judged that about yourself in the past? Has some of your self-dialogue been, that maybe because you choose to take action in this certain way, that maybe there's a question about your intelligence? I invite you to put all those things away from you. Release any thought or belief that in some way there's any inferiority in intelligence. You are brilliant. And if you love the way that you're taking action in a little bit of a meandering way, in a scenic route, by all means do that. And this straight action toe, people can depend on you. You are excellent at being depended upon. Does that ever weigh down on you? Do you ever feel like that's a burden? If yes, we can do some more work around that. If no, if you like that, then by all means carry on. This is an extraordinarily healthy toe here. Your relationship toes. All right, in your relationship toes, there is some blocked energy in both toes. So how do you feel like you show up in relationships? Do you, quote unquote, and I always put this in air quotes, do you like it or do you judge it? In what ways do you judge your relationships? When you've got Venus in the 12th house, you are empathetic, kind, and compassionate. And that could be a little overwhelming at times, right? Because you're feeling other people's stuff. So if you don't have a practice of identifying what's your stuff and what's other stuff, other people's stuff, I would invite you to just, that would be another place in your meditation, like starting to sort through and analyze what's my stuff, what's not my stuff that I'm feeling. Also, when your Venus is in Capricorn, like we looked at over here, this can sometimes be insecurity in relationships. And so in what relationships do you feel secure, confident, loved, received, accepted, and that you can fully express? And in what relationships do you not feel that way? What relationships do you hold back in? Because there are relationships where you're holding back, and you may judge yourself for this. So when it feels right to you, just make a list of friends and allies, okay? Not all of your friends are your allies. What friends do you have that are not your allies? And what I mean by that is We have friends who don't support our growth. We have friends who want us to stay the same. We have friends who are uncomfortable with some of the ways that we express. And so the question would be, what do you choose to do with this? And again, I'm feeling a little lightheaded here. If you are feeling lightheaded, I invite you to just take a breath and don't overthink it. This is not stuff that needs to be done today. This is your action toe. It's like, it needs to happen today, and I'm going to work hard to get it done. I invite you to use that intuition and sink into when is the right time to do this. And I would suggest with your relationships that it is on an as-you-go basis. When you are interacting with people, where are the relationships where you feel good, where you feel like you're adding value and receiving value? What are the relationships where your personal growth is prioritized and encouraged? In what relationships is there independence and sovereignty to do what's right for you individually and then come together and celebrate? Those are the types of relationships that are your ally relationships. Your allies have your back. Your allies support you in what you desire. Your allies have you as your growth as a priority in their lives also. So, friends and allies, there's a difference there. The action of massaging the toes would be a very, very good practice for you. And this little overlap here with your communication toe over your action toe, just again, paying attention to your self-talk, especially when it comes to the way that you take action. Okay, let's talk about your trust and prosperity toes. Okay, so we can see that there's a pretty big difference here, just for context's sake. There's a lot of blocked energy, and it looks like this toe has probably been broken at some point. And so that's your trust toe. And doing a little inventory of experiences that you've had in life where trust was encouraged, where trust was rewarded with trust, where you felt like you could trust. Now, remember that in human relationships, there's always going to be a violation of trust in some way, some kind of betrayal in some way, because we're human, because we're not perfect. We have been on the receiving end of that, and we have been on the giving end of that. The lifetime cost of not trusting is much, much higher than the lifetime cost of trusting and sometimes being burned. When you trust people, it allows you to fully express yourself. It gives you permission to be vulnerable. And so just consider what that looks like. And this is your prosperity toe. Your prosperity and your beliefs around prosperity have not been without struggle. We can see, again, a little bit of this bluish tinge in here, where there sometimes has been blocked energy to prosperity. And remember, prosperity is a variety of, is all the wonderful abundance. Now, abundance is often an overused word because you can have an abundance of stuff that doesn't work for you, and you can have an abundance of stuff that does work for you. Sometimes we get to choose, sometimes we don't get to choose. And it hasn't been without struggle, but overall, you've been able to overcome. That's a lot of that beautiful Capricorn energy. I'm feeling called to draw a card for you. So that's a lot of that Capricorn energy in stick-to-itiveness. Sometimes Capricorn needs to rest. And so I encourage you to just take that time to rest. Just a couple of other points on your chart. This Aries moon. This Aries moon, you are such like taking action, being innovative, being first, if you will. Like this is very important to you. Like this is part of a non-negotiable need to you. And if you see this big triangle here, okay, it's called a grand trine, and it is there between your Sun and Chiron, which are right next to each other, and Pluto and your moon. And so Aries is a sign of action. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the sign of moving forward. It's a trailblazer. Okay, that shows up a lot here. This is a lot of that Mars in Aquarius kind of energy, where it's totally fine to take the off-beaten path. All right. Just realize that being a trailblazer, that is a non-negotiable need for you. Taking action. This is very important as to who you are. So I invite you to take intentional action that brings you joy and fulfillment. I encourage you to take action with others, invite others into your projects, and be okay with being the leader of that team in that project. That will be very fulfilling for you and very soul evolving for you. I did feel an intuitive hit to draw a card for you, and it's from one of my favorite decks, the Spirit of the Animals Oracle. And this is your animal for the month of February. Okay, for the month of February, which is when we're doing this reading, February 2023, what is, just cleansing the cards, what is Ruth's totem for this month? Oh, wow. I am feeling this. You got the Black Jaguar, the old soul. I'm going to read from this book. Take note of how it felt when you saw that card. And I know that my picture is small. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and come back here. There's your card, the Black Jaguar. The Black Jaguar is about lunar magic, mystery, charisma, power, prophecy, protection, passion, strength, stealth, grace, rebirth, and royalty. If Black Jaguar is your power totem, you are blessed with a fierce guardian. It is a spirit imbued with courage, grace, valor, and power. Panther is a symbol for the dark moon and all the things that we can and must see beyond our earthly vision. Black Jaguar is the poet, prophet, protector, and artist. Black Jaguar is associated with old souls and those who know. There's your intuition. Jaguars are always happy to be alone, and they are never afraid. This fearlessness comes from knowing what lies beyond the veil, and that life is an illusion hiding in eternal truth of life everlasting. If you are ever lonely, frightened, or lost, call upon the spirit of the jaguar for company and direction. If Jaguar is your totem, they will be there for life's changes, growth, and discovery. Panther teaches that struggle, suffering, and endings push us to become the persons we were born to be. Do not resist this gift. A new life awaits the brave souls who are willing to face the dark night of the soul and wake up with the dawn and walk gracefully into a new world. Panther will be by your side. I think that's a beautiful totem for you for this month. Thank you for the opportunity to do your reading. It's been an absolute honor.